What is going on, guys and girls? Level Up here at OnPointTactical. The DICE developers and the team responsible for Battlefield 4, they have spoken. They've all been out on vacation, basically, because they found out that in Sweden you have to have 5 weeks of vacation per year. So they've been sending people pretty much just out, and there's been no one back at home base to do anything. Things that are being talked about being fixed. The V40 mini grenades are on the list. The attack and scout helicopters are on the list. The battle tanks are going to take an advantage from that. I don't think that they're going to be getting any sort of update. The DMRs are getting an update, and along with the hand flares and flashbangs. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start with the V40 minis. They need to be fixed because they're too good. They do like 80 damage per grenade, but you can toss them like close to 50 yards, I think. And there really is no reason not to use them. You can throw them at almost a flat trajectory, so you can get pinpoint accuracy with them and not really have to worry about rainbowing it. The M67 fragmentation grenade is the only grenade that actually does 100 damage, but you can only carry one of them. If they would take the mini count and leave it where it's at, but maybe reduce the radius of them a little bit, and then take the M67s and give you 2 of them, I think that a lot of people would veer towards using the M67s and the V40s instead of only the V40s. The hand flares, I personally don't really care. I thought that they were just to annoy people using FLIR and IRNV sites, but apparently they're supposed to have some sort of purpose. I'm assuming that they're going to mark targets with the commander or something, which is totally fine if that's the way that they want to go about it. But the flashbangs needed updated. I really don't ever use the flashbangs because they don't do enough to make it worthwhile to actually stop and throw it in there in hope that you flash them for that second. It doesn't last very long, and I think that if you were to put them at full suppression immediately after a flashbang goes off, that would be a good way to balance them out. As far as the blast radius of a flashbang, it doesn't really need to be updated, but definitely the effects of it need to be updated, and perhaps they should make them mess with FLIR sights whenever they go off for a second. You know, like the sensor has to reset for a couple seconds maybe. That would be another advantage to running with a flashbang as opposed to, say, an incendiary grenade, because pretty much you're only going to use a flashbang on some of those corridors, basically, in Operation Locker, and the incendiaries are very popular on Hurt Locker because you can just kind of toss it and then force players to take a route that you want them to run over your claymores, or to run into a couple buddies that you have potentially watching that route that can maybe drop them. As far as the choppers are concerned, I don't think that the scout chopper needs help. Rather, the repping ability of repair tools to the scout chopper needs to be nerfed. I think it has plenty of guns to keep it afloat, but they should maybe reduce the time it takes to regenerate ECMs, because it's really easy to shoot a stinger immediately after that first stinger at a helicopter, and the scout choppers, since they're kind of slow, they're really maneuverable, but they're slow compared to the attack helicopters. You can't really get out of the way of a stinger unless you are to fly behind something that they don't have a line of sight to. At that point, you pretty much are just screwed, so I think that the ECM time could be reduced in both the attack and scout helicopters. Now, the attack helicopter needs help in the gunner's seat. The gunner's seat does almost no damage to vehicles. It's pretty violent whenever we're talking about shooting down on infantry, but I really don't think that it needs a crazy lot of attention, because I don't want them to make it too effective. But, you know, we'll just have to see how that one plays out, but I'm speculating that the gunner seat is going to do more damage to other aircraft and armored targets on the ground, and that the infantry damage of it will probably stay unchanged. Now, the DMR is getting some love, is very important because they, for all intents and purposes, suck. They don't do enough damage per second to make them competitive with pretty much anything but the SAR-21, which is just a pile. So, if they're going to increase their damage model, I don't want to see them mess with the accuracy or the recoil of them. They can only change one thing. They can change the accuracy of them, the recoil of them, or the damage model. I personally think that they should go with the damage route and then make them do 50 damage so that one shot to the dome piece in close quarters is enough to drop them. But we can't see them overpowered and then everyone using them, because that's just going to start basically a pandemic, and then we're going to be stuck getting shot by DMRs listening to that stupid sound all the time. I don't want to see that. Now, on more of a subscriber-based note, you guys have probably wondered why I haven't done anything about vehicles. Well, this is exactly why. I knew that the devs were going to be doing some balancing to vehicles, and it's much harder to cover those than updates that they do to weapons. So I've been focusing on my ground combat and upgrading all of my guns all the way, and then we're going to move along to vehicles after probably this next update that may actually result in a client-side patch. I'm going to move on, and we're going to talk about the main battle tanks, the APCs, the AA guns. Oh, I forgot to mention that the mobile AA is going to be getting some attention, and hopefully that's going to be a nerf, because that thing is overpowered at this point. Its range is way too long, so they can pretty much just sit in their deployment. They don't really have to go out and risk their life. They can just kind of sit in the backfield and shoot at stuff all day. So they need to make the radius, or the range rather, of the mobile AA not as good as it is right now, so that you actually have to risk going to the center of the map as opposed to just sitting in your spawn. But we're going to go over that. We're going to go over the MRAPs and how to use those effectively. It should be a good time, but I haven't been doing a lot of vehicle stuff because it's harder to cover updates to vehicles than it is to cover updates to assault rifles, for example, because I can just hop in a couple games of Team Deathmatch, shoot some stuff, get some gameplay, and then be done with it. A main battle tank is a totally different story, and the same thing with the attack helicopters. It's kind of a crapshoot whether or not you're going to be getting good gameplay in a couple hours, or if it's going to take you a couple days. I'm LevelUp here at OnPointTactical. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope that this has been somewhat informative. We don't really know what the final details are, but it sure is fun to sort of guess at stuff, I guess. It's kind of fun to speculate. So I hope to see you guys on the battlefield.